Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody. What if I told you that it is in the best interest of national security that tonight we steal the Declaration of Independence?
I have prepared for at least half my life for this.
There's a treasure map on the back of that Declaration of Independence.
If you have some lemon juice.
I wish my name was Benjamin for this.
Or Nicolas Cage.
Of course, you might be listening to this and think, Dave, that sounds suspiciously like the plot of the wonderful adventure movie from Disney, National Treasure.
The first 2 times of watching it, great. The millionth time of watching it, it was okay.
Yeah, I still like it. It's a great movie. The sequel, not so great. But Nick Cage is wonderful in that movie.
Cage is in the middle of a Cage-assance right now.
Yeah. Well, did he ever really go away? Nick Cage always been Nick Cage. We just forgot about him. We slept on Nick. We were sleeping on him, and he was just like, I'm still here.
No cap.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm talking about that because there's actually something in the news, not about the Declaration of Independence, but about an original copy of the United States Constitution.
Oh.
Are you aware that there is a publicly owned copy of the United States Constitution?
What?
This is complete news to me. Like, this is wild, and I want to talk about it.
Okay.
All right, so there is a publicly owned, like privately owned copy of the United States Constitution. It was printed by Charles Thompson, a secretary of the Continental Congress, and it was found in a filing cabinet of a North Carolina home.
That's bananas.
Found, like, listen, this is what's nuts, Cody. By the way, let me first preface this by saying the reason it's in the news is because it was sold at an auction here in the last couple weeks.
Oh.
For $9 million.
Not sure that you should sell that.
I mean, it's privately owned. Someone found it in a filing cabinet. Could you imagine going up to your attic and just finding a copy of the United States Constitution? What would your first impulse be if you were rummaging around your parents' attic? Maybe it was a family home and it's been in the family for generations, and you found a real life, not replica, copy, a real old copy of the United States Constitution. What would be your first impulse?
If this is real, I can't use it to kill the spiders that are crawling all over me.
Roll that thing up and get it over here. Whack, whack, whack. No, that would be terrible.
That would be.
Like, honestly, I'm trying to put myself in this position, and my first impulse wouldn't be like, oh, we gonna be rich. My first impulse was be like, are we supposed to call the Library of Congress? What do we do?
Can this be a tax write-off for the rest of my life?
Yeah, exactly. If I give this back to you, government, can I not pay taxes ever again?
Thank you.
Until 2022, this 237-year-old document was collecting dust in a metal filing cabinet underneath a can of stain. Inside a long-forgotten storage room inside this home in Edenton, North Carolina. Turns out this home was once owned by Samuel Johnston, the state's governor from 1787 to 1789 for 2 years. And they were clearing it out. It's not clear how it ended up in the cabinet in the first place. I'm assuming Sam put it in there.
If that can of stain had gotten knocked over, history gone instantly.
Oh man, this is wild though, because Andrew Brunk, who owns Brunk Auctions, said it took just 7 minutes for the document to reach its final $9 million bid Thursday, with most of them coming over the phone in $500,000 intervals. So it brings up an even better question. Who's buying this thing? And what do they do with a copy of the Constitution?
Some oil tycoon.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
You're like, it's got to be someone conservative.
Yes.
Right? No liberal wants the Constitution.
Honestly, it could have been my friend Dubs. George.
G-dubs. Like this is wild stuff. And I'm totally into it. I haven't shared with you what I think the kicker of all this information is, though.
Oh.
So, Cody, this copy of the U.S. Constitution was found in a filing cabinet of a North Carolina home. It must have been an old home.
Yes.
Because it was once owned by the state of North Carolina's governor back in the 1700s. And it was being cleared out. They found this old copy. Charles Thompson printed this himself, the Secretary of the Continental Congress, recently sold at an auction for $9 million.
It's a few pesos.
Now, you want to know the part of this that just blew my mind. Like, this is the reason. So I know statistically, when we look at the United States, we're in the middle of a lot of things we probably shouldn't be. We should be higher up. This is like, statistically, when we look at the United States, people have a problem with saying we're the greatest country that's ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm about to tell you is, I think ironclad evidence of why this is the best place to live ever. You ready for this? Charles Thompson, the Secretary of the Continental Congress, printed 100 copies of the Constitution during its existence. Only 8 are still known to exist. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. 7 of them are privately owned. Only 1 is in possession of our government in the Library of Congress.
Take that, Library of Congress.
In most every country in the world, if there were copies of their whatever they call their constitution, they would have claimed those. Even countries where it's not bad to live there.
Manifest destiny.
Right. They would have just said, hey, that's
it.
technically the property of the government. In the United States, there are 8 copies of our original governing document, and 7 of them are privately owned, and the country says, no, they're yours. Is that just not incredible to think about?
It is a bit bananas. And I can sell you a modern day copy for a lot cheaper than $9 million.
Cody's like, as it turns out, I have a poster copy of the Declaration of Independence that I would love to put up for auction. This thing is authentic, printed in 2018.
Yes.
It's spotless.
Starting bid $100,000.
There may or may not be a map drawn in crayon to a treasure that does not exist on the back of it.
But it fits perfectly with a Disney movie.
Put on your Nick Cage hat, everybody. Okay, Matt. So you may not know this about me, but I'm a history guy. I love history. And sometimes you find these events in history that are so weird, so strange. A lot of them happen in the Bible. You know, you get a lot of weird, strange things, events that happen in the Bible. But in the Bible, there's always the explanation of, hey, God did this, did something or whatever. But I also like when we find something in history that's just a weird event and there's no real explanation for it.
Yeah.
And I think I found one of those.
Okay.
Because of a new Kentucky museum exhibit.
Ooh.
Dedicated to one of these events. It's in Bath County, Kentucky.
Where's that?
That's a funny name. I have no idea. It's in Kentucky. The exhibit details an event from March 1876, of which there is some documentation of. It's said to have occurred when Olympia Springs resident, that's so Olympia Springs, everyone knows that's in Bath County. Don't look so stumped. Clearly in Bath County. Resident Rebecca Crouch. Oh, good old Rebecca.
Yeah.
From 1876.
March of 1876.
She was outside with her grandson when something started to rain down from the sky. Now, listen, we've seen all the interesting, like, you know, frogs raining. It's rained frogs before, fish, various other small animals.
Correct.
And I don't know what the prevailing theory is on those. Some weird atmospheric thing, tornadoes, whatever.
Yeah.
This was different. this was different.
What do you got?
What rained out of the sky that day in March of 1876, according to Rebecca Crouch of Olympia Springs, Bath County, Kentucky, were chunks of red meat.
What?
Yeah. Chunks of red meat, a preserved piece of what is believed to be the meat that fell from the sky that day is preserved at, oh, this is too perfect, by the way. I can't even believe this is real. But this is a real article. A preserved piece of red meat that allegedly fell from the sky is being preserved at Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky. Stop it, news. That's insane. Transylvania University. And the school recently returned the jar of flesh to Bath County to serve as the centerpiece of a museum exhibit from the day. I mean, this should be in music. Like the day the music died?
Correct.
No, the day it rained red meat. But yeah, we're going to talk about this hour. The old Kentucky red meat shower of 1876 coming up. So Kentucky, Matt, had a meat shower back in 1876. This wasn't like this wasn't a gimmick on Guy Fieri's cooking show, or restaurant dives and, whatever, his diners dives. And I don't know. He has a show.
Yes.
And it has a lot of meat in it, presumably.
Correct.
But this was not a gimmick. Apparently, in 1876, it rained red meat in Olympia Springs, Kentucky. Meat literally fell from the sky. I feel like I keep having to say that because it's so weird and I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Oh, is it a metaphor? No, it's not a metaphor. Literally, red meat fell from the sky.
Anyone else witness it but Mrs. Crouch?
I don't know what you're trying to say. Are you attacking the veracity of Rebecca Crouch from 1876?
Maybe a little.
Honesty. Yeah. I mean, try explaining that at your next barbecue, though. This isn't, this isn't chicken. What is this? Well, it's sky meat. Yeah. It came out of the sky. I mean, you cook that right away, right? If red meat falls out of the sky, I'm like, this is meat from God.
Well, God gave us manna. So God could give us steak too.
And literally, manna means, what is it? That was what they named it. What is it? Well, it's red meat, apparently.
Well, it only lasts one day.
I don't know. We need to investigate further.
Okay.
The Bath County History Museum is now showcasing an exhibit about the famous Kentucky meat shower. And it's definitely a chance to dive into one of history's weirder chapters. Because, I mean, honestly, who needs fiction when you have stories like this to talk about?
Meat shower.
Yeah. A meat shower. Yeah. Sounds like an unfortunate incident in the boys' locker room in middle school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right? Like some sort of hazing incident. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. But Matt, if you could witness any bizarre historical event, would the meat shower make your list? Would you have wanted to see that?
No.
No.
It would not be on the list.
Yeah, that seems unfortunate. Well, first of all, wouldn't you start freaking out?
Very much.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. So DNA tests on the preserved meat have been inconclusive. The stuff they had at Transylvania University, which is in fact a real college in Kentucky.
Wow.
Leading to multiple different theories. Okay, so we got multiple theories here.
Okay.
When we went back to the music, the last thing we said was that they DNA tested the red meat and it was inconclusive. Matt's over here the whole time inconclusive? How? What does that mean? What is it? Exactly we're sitting here calling it red meat. It's clearly some sort of red meat, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah, and we're pretty good at DNA testing at this point.
So they have some theories. One includes that there's a weather pattern where winds pick up small fish, frogs. We talked about that. The scientists said they think it's called an upspout, and then it lays them down in another place.
Okay.
So then the obvious question is, okay, well, what did the upspout pick up? I mean, it's raining down ground beef, but not like just some unidentified red meat. And this guy, Kurt Godey, a professor at Transylvania University, which I can't say that and take seriously.
These names.
For him, it's the vulture vomit theory. So a vulture ingested the meat, but they don't chew it.
Right.
And he vomited it up, and then it upspout picked up the vom with the chunks. He's like, that's the only one that feels possible. And I was like, yeah, well, I guess if that's the only one possible.
Well, and owls do vomit up owl pellets.
Oh, but yeah, this is wild. So what's your take on the meat mystery?
I don't think it's real.
You don't think it's real. You think people in 1876 were wilding.
Right. Right.
Rebecca Crouch, known liar in 18... No, allegedly. I mean, she's not around to sue us for me saying that. But
That's
she
right.
probably has, descendants. We need an Ancestry.com study real quick on Rebecca to see if her people are still around. Maybe she has descendants now in Kentucky. We could go to their town and they'd be like, oh, that person, they're a liar. Always telling stories about meat falling out of the sky.
Crazy Aunt Rebecca.
Well, this museum is weird. This museum's going to have, like, it's literally a claim to fame. This must be a very small place in Kentucky. It's their claim to fame that they had a meat shower, allegedly. What is that museum like? Sometimes you go see dinosaur bones, maybe some ancient pottery, but meat showers?
That's been preserved since 1876.
Yeah.
It's more like beef jerky at this point.
It's wild. That's wild. I'm thinking of all the sayings, right? Like when we were kids, especially boys, your dad or grandpa or someone said, well, don't eat the yellow snow.
Correct.
Yeah. But this is like, don't eat the sky meat. It's crazy. Like, how does this even work? If a meat shower happened today, so you think it's fake, but if you went home today and it literally rained red meat and you could look at it and determine this is red meat, I could cook this.
Okay.
Would you?
No.
Would you barbecue it up?
No.
No. Why not? We're going to go back to the DNA test, aren't we? What could it have been?
Right.
This is, what a wild, they have some. So you say it's fake, but they have some in a jar from 1876. Don't eat that. There's no temperature you could cook that at. That would make me want to eat it.
No.
Any final thoughts on the meat shower of 1876?
Don't eat the meat.
Don't eat the meat. And probably, just to be safe, don't let your kids go to Transylvania University in Kentucky. That's just weird.
Remember the old lady?
Why would you name your college that? Well, let's talk about that for a second. What in the world is that called? Let's not talk about that.
Transylvania.
Seriously, if their mascot isn't the vampires, I don't even know what we're doing here. Just go full pop culture on it.
All right, this could be the next Anne Rice series.
Yeah, someone needs to write a book on the Kentucky meat shower of 1876.